Hello and welcome to another VoD review done by yours truly. Today we're going to be looking at Paker versus Flamed in the upper bracket. So this VoD review is probably going to be a bit shorter than the others. I'm just going to go over stuff that I saw in this series that was interesting or that I needed to pay attention to. So, out of the gates, we do have one thing on Torb. Speed this up to the point at which I saw. So, you can see right now that these two are taking engagements at long range with the rivet gun on Torb. And if we look at Flame's position right now, we can see from his perspective, there are three places that he has to watch. To the left of the pillar, to the right of the pillar, and the doorway to the right of that in the back. So that's three possible locations that Paker can come out of and snipe him with the rivet gun. Paker, on the other hand, has only two locations he has to check. Straight behind that pillar right there, and the doorway. And so 2 versus 3 locations, if you're pre-firing the doorway, you're going to be able to hit them statistically more often. Of course, it always depends on luck if you're pre-firing, but you always want to have more avenues of peeking out of cover compared to your opponent. So for Sigma, something I want to talk about is shield usage. Now, we've talked about using the shield when you're advantaged, or pushing the shield, or focusing on shield health to give yourself an advantage in the Sigma 1v1. But what we haven't talked about is recalling your shield, especially when it's not being useful right now. So you see these two are just poking each other, and at the moment, Flame Shield is out right here, and he brings it back because it's not being used, which is good. But basically, whenever your shield is not being used, whenever the enemy Sigma is not firing at it, like now, for example, when Paker has backed around this pillar, you can see he's recorded his shield, and so his shield health is regenning. But Flame has kept his shield out. So if Paker were to go around this pillar and re-engage with Flamed, Paker would have the advantage in shield health. So just keep that in mind. Whenever you are not engaged with an enemy Sigma, whenever your shield is not being used, recall it so it regens the health. It could save you. Now, for D.Va, something that hasn't been done a lot, which could actually win you a D.Va 1v1, is a dash double boop. And I think you'll see Flames try it soon here in the future. But basically what it is that you dash into the enemy, melee them, so you get the dash and melee damage, and then you turn back around and melee them again in the back. And usually this both disorients them and lets you pull off, I'm gonna say around 100 damage combo. I'm not exactly sure. There you go. You see Flame tries it there, but isn't successful. And also something that you can do for extra damage on D.Va, which you'll see Paker attempt here but fail, is to melee if the enemy D.Va is just hard holding their defense matrix, you can melee for like an extra 25 or 50 damage. So I think you'll see Paker try it here, but he's just out of range. Oh no, I think I skipped past it. But you see that tech that Flame did, even though he didn't pull it off completely, it gave him a health advantage in the D.Va 1v1. And although it doesn't amount to much here, I mean, he almost DMX himself, it can save you in engagements with a 1v1 in a D.Va. So now we get onto Pharah, my favourite hero. Right out the gates, first thing to remember on Pharah is that height advantage always allows you better angles on your opponent, and usually is easier to hit those shots. So you always want to try and maintain height advantage in Pharah 1v1, or disengage if you don't have the height advantage. And another thing which is especially relevant on Eco Point is being close to walls and splash damage. You'll see in this one that Flame stays too close to walls, and that allows Paker to get some chip damage on him. So you see right here, I think. There we go. He does about 43 damage to Flamed because Flamed is too close to that wall. Because the rocket is an AoE attack. And then we'll see here again, Flame takes even more damage because he's close to the walls. You know, now he's in one-hit territory. And eventually that's what allows Paker to win the 1v1 on Pharah. So, that about does it for my analysis on Eco Point Antarctica. Let's head over to Necropolis. So, onto Necropolis. This was actually a short map because Flamed came out angry out of the gates. They both take this leftmost, well, left from Flame's perspective, exit. And you're both on McCree, and you both see the enemy go behind this wall here. So now, the key thing obviously is to hit your flashbang. Usually what you want to do is if you both see each other, go close to the wall. It is mind games, but what I usually like to do is just step away from the wall out of flashbang range and see if they try and predict a flashbang on me. Because if you see the enemy McCree has used his flashbang, you can roll and hard engage and get a guaranteed flashbang on him. And so let's see what happens here. So Flamed baits out the flashbang on Paker because he was too far back. Flamed misses his flashbang too because Paker backed off as soon as he used his flashbang, which is a smart play. But still, Flamed takes the W on McCree. So we're back on D.Va, and another thing that I noticed that one of them does well in this mode is rocketing while defense matrixing. Actually, nope, I don't think either of them did. Still, that's a tip. Always hold your defense matrix while you're rocketing because it's free damage. But don't use too much of your defense matrix because the enemy will bait it out and then attack you. Anyway, as we continue on this D.Va 1v1, you can see that Paker is going to try and hide around a corner here, which usually would be a fine play. The problem is, Flame sees him go around this corner here. So, if the enemy sees you go around the corner, he's just going to have Paker's advantage and kill you, which is exactly what happens here with Flame. As you just saw there, for Brig, baiting the Flail Whip and trying to get Flail Whip advantage on your enemy is all a mind game. I can't exactly give you tips on this. I'll get into this on the Castillo version of Brigitte, but it is similar to Rhine in that aspect, in that it's a mind game with baiting Flail Whip. And so you've got to play shield differently every time. Don't be predictable with your shield movements. Another tip on Sigma, which people have been using recently, actually I found. There are so many tips on Sigma, it's like it's a chess game almost, doing a 1v1. But another tip that I've seen that's quite effective is that if the enemy absorbs right in your face, you can melee for 3 damage, or rock if they don't have their shield up. I believe one of them uses it here. Let's try and find out.
Barrier is up. Retrieving the barrier. Activating the barrier.
You can see Flame tried for a melee there on Paker while he was absorbing. And Paker goes for the rock and melee on Flamed while he's absorbing and gets the advantage in the Sigma 1v1 here.
Barrier is about to break.
So for Mei, again, another tip that I've seen that people have been using recently is committing when you hear the enemy ice blocked. So you can see that Flamed is ice blocked here because he took 2 icicles. And so Paker knows, oh, that's a interesting view. Paker knows he ice blocked and is going to hard commit now onto Flamed. For Ashe, something that I've seen that people do is that when you're trying to play the information gathering game with another person, you know, you're trying to find where each other are to get the drop shot on them so you could hopefully get the win. Usually throwing your dynamite first is actually a disadvantage. So you see Paker thinks that Flamed is somewhere behind the pillar or maybe on a rock somewhere. So he's going to throw his dynamite. Flamed, who is currently hidden from Paker, sees this dynamite and goes, "Oh, you must be up there now."
Here it comes.
Throws a dynamite back to try and flush him out, which Paker doesn't see the location of. Paker now sees Flame down there, but throws another dynamite, so Flame knows exactly where Paker is right now. And gets the win because of it.
4-2.
That about does it for Necropolis. So let's head over to the last map of the series, Stio. So again, just something I want to discuss on Torb is, because they take a rivet gun long range battle here, the exits from cover and how it's easy to kill someone if they're being predictable. So you can see that Flamed and Paker locate each other at this instant, and they start sniping each other with the rivet gun. Now, because Paker is behind this wall here, and keeps on strafing in and out of this wall, it would actually be very easy for Flamed to line up these shots. But from Paker's perspective, when he comes out here and keeps on strafing, there is any possible location that Flamed could be in. So all Flamed has to do is shoot next to this wall over here, while Paker's got to locate where Flamed could possibly be at any given moment.
Score 0-1.
I'm not even going to dignify this round. Wow, I've finally gotten Maddie grown up and had some grandkids. Let's see where this round is. Oh, we're still not done yet? Oh. Oh. So for Brigitte, Flame tries an interesting strategy where he's going to shield bass across here to try and surprise Paker and catch him off guard and do some damage. The problem with this is that you've just used your shield bass to already initiate the fight. And the enemy is going to know you've used the shield bash, so unless you catch them completely off guard, they now have an extra stun above you. And that's exactly what Paker does to make himself better in this engagement. He does accidentally disengage here, which puts him at a disadvantage, but Flamed was at the disadvantage until that disengage. After that, when they get down to the point, it's going to become a mind games again with them, with the shield, because you want to get the first flail whip. And again, the advice I can give you for that is exactly like you would with Reinhardt. Don't be predictable. So you can see they take an engagement now, and Flamed is going to try and bait Paker here, which in the end works. He's going to keep his shield up. He's going to drop, swing, drop, swing, drop, swing,
30 seconds.
drop, swing, and then shield up right when he knows Paker is going to flail whip, because Paker saw him drop his shield. But Flamed won the mind games there, got the flail whip, and won the engagement. Well, I hope you enjoyed this VoD review of Paker vs Flamed. Definitely an interesting series. Less text to review, but I might branch out these VoD reviews depending on feedback, so let me know what you think of them. Until then, I'll catch you in the next VoD review, or whatever I decide to do. Have a nice day, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.